One of the hardest things to deal with in life, and one of the most painful experiences I think we can have as humans, is falling in love with another person and not having that love returned. Unrequited love. And it's a popular one. Causes heartache worldwide, all year round. And I think one of the hardest parts about it, that makes it so tough to really get through and get over and move past for some people, is that feeling that you had so much in your heart to give. You had so much that you wanted to provide, because love is a doing word. Love makes you want to give. You know, if to you, your notion of love is you just want to receive this, and you love this person because they make you feel good, they make you laugh, they cook for you and all this stuff, then it's probably not really love so much as just appreciating the benefits that someone's, existence provides you, which is still good. You still got to appreciate what someone does for you out of love, because if they're doing those things for you because they love you, and they're providing you these things and trying to make you happier, healthier, trying to better your life, and you're not accepting them, then that's not really a way to show thanks. It can be, an insult to reject a gift. So it's good to be able to accept the gifts of love. Good to be able to appreciate the way that somebody else's life impacts your life, the way that they help you. But I really believe that true love, when you feel it, it compels you to do. And it compels you to want to just provide back to that person. Or at least to that person, back to that person if they're providing to you. And hopefully that's the case. If you're providing back to someone and it's a mutual exchange, then you're laughing. You're sitting on gold, and don't be in a rush to move. Enjoy where you're at. But I really think that's one of the biggest parts of why it's hard to get over. I think people, when you hold on to really heavy feelings, and it can get quite heavy, the longer you hold it, and the more, if it's not being reciprocated and the person's not even in a position to receive what you want to give them. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's someone that you've written love songs for, or poetry for, that you've made gifts for, that you've done acts of kindness and service for, all in the name of love, and you didn't do it for recognition. You didn't do it so they give you a pat on the back and give you a thank you, some thank you fellatio or something like that. But you did it because you love them and you just wanted to help them, see them smile. And I think, people have written poetry, they've done all that, they've given various gifts, and maybe the person that received the gifts, said, oh, thanks, and they appreciated it on some level, but generally speaking, people do not receive things the way that you intended it to be received. The way that you actually sent it, it'll never be received the same way. That itself causes a lot of problems, as you can imagine. You have a lot of people having different interpretations on meaning, on what certain exchanges mean, what certain gestures mean, and you usually realize in hindsight, especially if you're in a breakup argument and you start revisiting the past, you end up understanding very well how people's interpretations differ in terms of meaning and value and the quality. Maybe you gave a gift to someone and at the time they loved it. They were over the moon about it. And then you break up sometime later and they end up saying something like, oh, the only reason you got me that gift was because of this. Because you felt bad for doing that. It was a cover-up gift, a softener. And suddenly you're like, oh, well, was that really your interpretation at the time? Is that really your perspective? And your translation of what that gift meant, really? Sometimes it takes, until after the fact, post facto, for you to go back with your partner or ex-partner and see, revisit things and actually cast a more honest light and see them in a less biased light, no holds barred, and people just reveal the truth of how they actually felt, what they actually thought about things. And that can be a tough one. And it comes back to the fact that love makes one want to give, but the dilemma is one cannot receive things in the same way that they were intended when given. So question is, if love compels you to give something like yourself, service, gifts, gestures, and if they're never being received the way that you intended it, meaning really what you're giving is never actually got, it's never actually received, then is it possible to feel fulfilled? Is it possible to feel fulfilled in the sense that, your giving is being validated, or not validated, but the purpose of you giving is being fulfilled. The purpose of you giving a love message because you want it to depict love. If the person receives the message and it doesn't depict love, it depicts something else, some other motive, then was the purpose of your message fulfilled? Obviously, no. It was not. So you have that, I think the best we can get is a very close and accurate idea of what people mean when they give us things. We'll never really see exactly which corner of the heart things are sent from. We'll never understand and appreciate exactly how deeply things were sent from. But we can get a rough idea of what certain gestures mean, acts of kindness, gifts. And the better, the closer the idea is to the truth, then obviously the more the person who's giving these things feels fulfilled, they feel like they're actually being received. But this is what this talk is about, We've gone on for 7 minutes now, talking a bit about love, talking a bit about the errors in love and how, people have their own different ideas of what love is, of what it means to give it, and so they receive it differently. But really, I think the main pain of it all is that, people sometimes they hang on to hope, and they hang on desperately, they cling to anything that will give them hope, that will not allow the possibility in their mind. Well, I mean, the possibility will exist that, this pursuit will not work, this person I love will never love me back. That possibility is always there, but they don't want to seek out the evidence which reinforces that, generally speaking, unless they're just sick of it and they've been waiting for years or months and it's killing them, and they just need to find out, do you love me or not? Then maybe they will seek out the information just to kill the possibility. But generally, people don't want to kill the possibility until they feel that there's no more hope, until they've lost faith in that possibility. And that's where the real bit damage is done. I think people fixate for whatever reason. Maybe somebody provided something that there was a deep lacking in their hearts and souls with, and someone came along and clicked in their part, and it just made them feel complete, made them feel functional, happy, healthier, whatever. People become addicted to other people in the same way you might become addicted to drugs to afford you better states of being and help you get through tough times. But there's also other reasons, Maybe someone genuinely loves someone. Maybe someone genuinely loves someone as a friend. There's a genuine friend connection, and a love for each other, and a respect, and a care, concern, and want to support. But then maybe there's other factors that makes a person feel extra needy, feel the need to get attached to anyone that they get close to. Maybe they were abandoned. Maybe they got abandonment issues, and they feel an extra propensity to cling to and to embrace tighter anyone that gets close to them, and it's that fear of losing them that elevates their affections, that elevates their appreciations, that fear that that person might leave, and that the way that they value people, because they know what it feels like to lose people. And I myself, I have a little bit of that. My father left when I was very young, 5 years old, came back when I was 12, but it left a mark. And I'm very sensitive to, as a result of all that, abandonment and being neglected, ignored, not being tended to, when I feel that, if someone cares for you and you're in tough times and you've expressed that you need a hand and nobody's paying attention, then that, to me, I'm extra sensitive to thinking, well, obviously they do not care. Just like my dad obviously did not care, So everyone's got their own little thing. It's good to understand the things that affect you and the ways in which you are hypersensitive as well. The way that things might impact you more than it would others. Make you draw conclusions more naturally that might not be true. And then there's other reasons why people feel that they're in love with someone else, feel the need for someone else when really it's not love. And if it's not addiction, if it's not because, there's more urgency in the embrace, like I was just talking about. If it's not for those reasons, it can be a number of different reasons. Maybe it is just pure selfishness. Maybe the person just makes them feel good and they're just a hedonist. And because they are a hedonist, they can't see outside the scope of that. So to them, if they feel like they want to be around a person a lot because the person makes them feel good, to them that must be love. Whatever it is, I think if you believe it's love in your mind, who can correct you? I mean, love's a really subjective thing. It varies. So, and that's exactly what I mean. Like, each person has their own capacity to love, and to love in their own way, which generally differs from every single other person they will meet, ever. It can only come close in similarity in principle, but when you look at the fine details, at the heart of hearts, people are very different in how they feel, in how they interpret their feeling more so. People might have a lot of similarities in how they feel, but how it comes out to them, how they give it form in their mind, what it means, and how it forms narratives and narrated motives, things they tell themselves, stories they tell themselves, like, I love this person, I want to be with this person for the rest of my life. However it unfolds and shapes up in their head as a story, is very different. Everyone writes differently. No two people have the exact same handwriting, unless we're talking twins now. So, I think that's the hardest thing. And recently, I actually came upon a really revolutionary point in my life. There was this person that I had developed over a number of years. Really strong affections for and feelings for. And I think it was because, when I met this person, it was at a time where I was at a really low point, and they helped me through it over the year. And we bonded through that, and at the same time, they had some struggles of their own, and I helped them through that. So we both bonded, we both helped each other through different kinds of crises. And that's another reason people might feel like affections or love for someone. They call it crisis crush. And what a crisis crush is, when you share a crisis with someone, you generally feel closer to them or bonded. You might have a bit of a crush on them because you almost had a car crash, because you almost died together. So it makes your connection feel more meaningful and more intense that you shared that. So whether it's because I started somewhere low and she became my rock, so to speak, and my source of strength. So, I just felt even more attached because of that. But even when I first met the girl and looked her in the eyes, I genuinely felt an elevation in my heart rate. And it felt fateful. I mean, you can just tell sometimes when you meet someone. But whatever the story, time passed and I developed really strong feelings for this girl. And to begin with, she made it explicitly clear that she wasn't really interested in that way, and she made it clear that, I shouldn't hold my breath, because it wasn't going to happen. And I was like, okay, that's cool, and I played it cool, whatever. You do what you can do, and you don't do what you can't. And eventually, we ended up getting a bit close. and ended up doing some stuff together and connected on different levels. And I don't know if that really elevated my feelings, because by that point, even before we did that, I was pretty in there. I was pretty deep with feeling. But then that stuff started happening, and it just, obviously I think that it's always going to intensify a connection when you connect with someone like on that level, physically, sexually. It's always going to make you feel more bonded with the oxytocin chemical, the one that makes you feel like, this person's family. I want to be close to this person all the time. Oxytocin, baby. The more you touch people, the more it's released, and it makes you feel more bonded with that person. So naturally that would have played a part. And it ended up getting to a point where the feelings in my heart got so heavy to be with this person. I absolutely yearned. Got to the point where I couldn't go a day without this person being the constant thought in my mind. And not constant, but I mean continually rising to the surface every now and then. Whenever there was a blank spot and I had not too much to think about, she would be there. Her face, just wondering how she's going, hoping she's fine, wishing that, things were different and that she'd feel the same, hoping that maybe one day she could. And I hoped, and I hoped, and I held on to that hope for a while. And that's the thing, when you're in love with someone and you believe you're in love, or let's say when you're attached to someone and you really just want and yearn something with them, I think it's hard to break away, to stop for as long as there is a slither of hope. Doesn't matter if there's a fuck ton of reason why it's not gonna work, why it's never gonna happen. It doesn't matter about all the evidence in the world. If there is a slither of hope that it could work, you will hold on. Your heart will hold on, and you'll keep on loving. You'll keep feeling that pain, which is what I was doing until recently, when I realized after a conversation that it was hopeless. And funny enough, the person I thought that I was in love with didn't actually exist. And more so, I think she became a fragment of what I was looking for. Maybe for the reasons I discussed, we came close. She represented a lot of what I ideally like in a girl, so I maybe selectively just played down the bits that weren't as compatible, and I played up the bits that were. But we had a conversation, and it made it dead clear to me. Dead clear. And it wasn't a heavy discussion. It wasn't even about us or her or anything, per se. But just some things were said, and it just shook my interpretation of her completely. Kind of person she is, how she interprets meaning in things, how she values things, the qualities that she derives from experiences. And I just realized, wow, we're like two completely different sets of writing, of two different languages, and I'm trying to translate myself to her. All this time I've been trying to show her my love and tell her my love and write all these songs and whatnot, and I realize it's never been received. All the songs I thought were really well written, lots of heart and soul put into it, and I was quite proud of, because love motivates just as much as anger does for me. So I wrote some pretty cool shit, and I got no responses for any of it. None. And then I think I touched on it eventually, mentioned it, and I didn't really get much. I think she was like, oh, it was good, yeah. And I realized it was because it was probably never received, because we're completely different people. And the way that this one receives meaning is very different to how I give it. I think that's an important lesson to learn, folks, that sometimes it's not even a matter of when, it's not a matter of being hopeful that in time, in the future, things might align. Even if things aligned as good as they possibly could with you and another person, maybe because of incompatibility and big, massive differences in how value is derived from things, significance, meaning, importance, just the way people interpret experiences. Maybe it doesn't matter how well things align. You will never have that connection, and you will never be received even remotely close to how you want to be received and how you intend to give yourself. And I think it's better to be realistic and honest. And I'm happy I had the conversation that made me just flick a switch inside, and I feel a lot lighter now, lighter-hearted. The person is not on my mind continually now. I mean, I still care for them as a really good friend, but I just feel like I'm actually in a healthier, more appropriate place given where reality is. Given where she actually is and has been this whole time. Given where I should have been and where I finally am now. And it took me a good couple of years, almost, but I got there in the end. And that's, I guess, I never know the point when I start talking. I just start talking, but I guess that's the point. Is it's good to want things, it's good to stick it out and to try and to keep faithful. Don't dash your hopes too prematurely. But it's also good to realize when you're seriously being hurt by your unreceived affections, your unreceived love. You need to give yourself to someone who simply doesn't want to take it from you or can't receive it properly from you. And at those times, I think it pays to really get your head wrapped around the situation, around the reality of it, and integrate that reality. Talk about it until it takes that final discussion where there's just a few words that completely reorients you and makes you realize, wow. Because it wasn't until I lost my last slither of hope, that I just naturally, suddenly changed so radically in how I felt, how I thought about the situation. Like, I'm totally fine now, totally accepting, happy, because I was aware the whole time that I was being irrational, probably wanting something that didn't exist, but I still had that little bit of hope. It wasn't until I lost it that I was able to take my claws out of the notion that this needed to happen. And suddenly it was gone. It just disappeared. So if you're in a place like that where you're in a lot of pain and you're fixated and it's just not working and you really don't think it will, instead of trying to avoid the experiences and the information that's going to contradict what you want, that's going to make you think, no, it's not possible, maybe just be more open and taking it all on board, confronting all the information, or letting it confront you more so. And then, before you know it, maybe you'll just naturally orient yourself, having actually integrated the reality of the situation instead of keeping hopeful and selective in your detailing and focus. If you force yourself to see the big picture, you can't unsee it, and it will change things. It will change how you feel, your disposition, your interpretation, your perspective. And sometimes that can be the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself. There's no point trying to maintain an illusion, a lie, of a dream, of a hope, of a fantasy. Not when it starts actually putting in detriment your reality and really affecting you. At some point, it's good to wake up. It's good to smell the coffee, even if it's really bitter. Swallow the pill, and adjust. Make necessary adjustments. And it starts with honesty. It starts with confronting the reality, the big picture, what's going on inside, what's going on outside, looking at all the evidence. And, either if there is hope, maybe things will adjust to you and you'll get what you want. But if there is no hope, because you both exist on different planes, and it doesn't matter how you align, it's never gonna click, then it's better to quit dreaming and start adjusting to reality, I think. That's the point. Cheers for watching, guys. Cheers for hearing me rant. Hope you're all well and happy and healthy as much as I am right now. Seriously stoked. There's such a weight lifted from my chest with all this shit. Because I was a delusional fool before, and now I'm just back to being Phoenix, which is actually Really cool. All right. Have a good day, everyone. I'll catch you around. Peace out.